My name is Carolyn Reid, and it used to be Carolyn Couldrey, which was the name, obviously, of my parents, who were the last private owners here. They were the sixth private owner and the last one before Auckland Council. In that stage, Auckland Regional Authority purchased it, and they bought it in 1940. My father had a passion for coastal land, and along the way he met my mother and married her in 1936. And like all the Couldreys, including me, had a passion for the sea and rather hoped when the war came that he'd be enlisted in the Navy. And he wanted to buy an asset for my mother because, like many people, he believed in the ultimate value of land. That's your big security, to have some land. Coastal land, what a plus. Now, he knew Captain Carey, the fifth private owner, from both of them being on the waterfront. Captain Carey was a much older man, he was retired. So Tim persuaded Captain Carey to sell Wenderholm to Tim and Phyllis, my mother. After the war, we came up to the caravan, which they'd had on the beach frontage from 1936 onwards, and the share milkers would be living in the back part of the house. The front part of the house, where we're sitting now, was really badly falling down. So the house was swathed in Virginia creeper, and as we all know, that's pretty much death for a wooden house. It was dark and cobwebby, and the floors creaked, and the light filtered through the windows, and there were dust motes dancing down the shafts of light. And the Virginia creeper would tap on the windows. I do remember one wonderful Christmas when my mother cooked Christmas dinner in the kitchen on the wood-fired range. She was such a pretty woman and always very collected, and she looked so hot because it's a range, wood-fired range, a Shacklock Mark II. I can just remember her so sweaty getting it out, and I suppose putting whatever it was, chicken or roast lamb or whatever, on the table. And then we went through to the Whitney room, what we call the Whitney room, and had Christmas lunch. And it was fun. It had good atmosphere, but I remember her being very hot. When I used to come here when I was at university, and later on I got a job, I always viewed it as my home because Tim and Brenda, my very dear stepmother, were now living here. It was their home. So I'd come in the weekends, and it was a really fun place to come to, and my friends would come. Now there were two attics and there was a sloping roof between them, and they, Tim and Brenda, very sweetly built a bedroom for me, which makes a third attic, up above the dining room. And such a stunning view, and you could hear the sea breaking at night. So I loved my bedroom. They put a floor in, obviously lowered or made a ceiling in the dining room, and this was my bedroom. My bed was here, and that was a view to wake up to. The desk was my father's roll-top desk from H.W. Couldrey and Company, shipping and customs agents, cartage contractors. And the chair is Tim bought from the Union steamship, and it was the captain's chair from the SS Mahino, and he was fond of it. Yes, well, here's his teacup and saucer, H.C. His given names were Herbert William Couldrey, but he wasn't cranky on Herbert, and so he was called Tim for the whole of his life. There was no bathroom upstairs. So that was put in when Tim and Brenda moved here, and they slept in what we call Mrs. Whitney's bedroom, the master bedroom. That was where they were. And one nice thing that happened was that I found the first copy, my first copy of Pride and Prejudice, upstairs, sitting on one of the window seats in the master bedroom. And I doubt Captain Kerry had been reading it, but that was a nice thing, because I've always loved Pride and Prejudice. So I treasured that. And as I mentioned, it was a really fun place to come to, and my friends would come. My father was passionate about cricket, so the boys would be dragooned to play cricket. And we had a tennis court out the back, so we'd play tennis, grass tennis court, and we'd go to the beach, and we had sailing boats on the river, two little, an X-class and a Zeddy, and there were canoes, we'd go canoeing. It was very fun. I always enjoyed coming here. I thought, and still think, it's a happy house, and I think that's partly what gives me pleasure now to see it being used the way it is. I always enjoyed coming. I thought it had an element of magic about it. I just enjoyed being here.